Hey, everybody, welcome back to She's Here from Survival to Sovereignty. This is the podcast for women who are really ready to just stop getting through life, right? And really start living it. We're your hosts, Cindy Eddington, my partner over here, Roshni Sharma Fleming. And each episode, we explore what it really means to reclaim your voice, reconnect with your body, and step fully into your personal power. Today's episode, here we are. We're gonna go back to the whole saying no. We had, I think, our one of our other episodes we talked about saying no.
Yeah.
This is going to be more specific to saying no in the workplace. And I
Mm,
think it's really interesting because I think this is something that many women struggle with. And it's not because they lack, capability or that they can't really handle, the job or handle the no. It's just they've been so conditioned, right, to
yes.
equate worth with productivity. I mean, I know I
Yeah.
did at one point. I
Ooh.
got into this whole adage, do more, be more, do more, be more, right? So it's really all about that conditioning. And so I don't know, it may and see if this resonates with you, Roshni, in your previous work situations or even now. I know I've experienced some of this. It's you take on more than the job requires, right?
Yes.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I know when I worked in corporate, it was of course I did emails after work. You know what I mean? It was like, of course, I was like, oh my God, if I don't, I would feel guilty if I didn't, you know, take on more, do more. And what's
Mm.
really interesting is when I was working in corporate, it was very difficult to disconnect from work mentally. I mean, I carried it
Oof.
with me like all the time. I would wake up in the middle of the night. Oh my God, I got to do this. I got to do that. Or when I was on vacation, um, I would still be like the first 3 days, I'm still finishing up things or whatever. So, I mean, it was this constant pressure, I think, to like prove myself. Um, because I didn't want to be seen as lazy or I didn't want to be seen as, not a team member or team player. You got to
Yeah.
a team play nice and you always want to be, I think, seen as, someone who's dependable and reliable but at the same time you're exhausted, because you're never kind of
Absolutely.
like getting away. So I don't know, have you ever felt any of this? What I kind of just explained out there. I mean, have you ever, like locked into any of that or still locked into any of that? Kind of curious.
I'm going to work from now. I don't feel locked into it now because you and I have discussed and been through a lot of personal sandpapering, if for lack of a better word, experiences
Yeah.
that help us to develop a vocabulary around what it is truly, what we can say, what our boundaries are, what we're capable of, what our capacity is, and protecting that. So now I don't have an issue with that. I think one thing that comes up is the age. When you're younger, you're generally you can be more spry, maybe you have a lot more, you have less responsibilities, maybe you're single, maybe you're just newly married. So all of these other factors can inform what you can put out into the world. When I was in corporate, I quickly became exhausted very quickly. I was like, okay, so yeah. And
Yeah.
I think for me, it wasn't proving. For me, I misconstrued service with being more productive.
Mm.
Yeah. So, like, I'm a service oriented individual. So, yes, I will help you. Yes, yes, yes. So, I couldn't say no because to me it was serving. And then I had no boundaries. So a lot of stuff kept being put on my plate. And then I would basically burn out in 8 days. That's basically what would happen. Was it a pattern that I broke and noticed quickly? I did.
Yeah.
But I I just remember like viscerally, like my body would ache. My body would ache, and then I would have go through this doom, like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to do this. And it's not about being lazy. It's just my body was like, this is not the way, I'm telling you. And I kept pushing, 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 overriding, overriding.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like a service and productivity thing. Like they're both very different.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because if we go back to the initial conversation that we talked about, and just in general of saying no, I mean, it
Mm,
seems so logical that it would totally cross over into the workplace as well, right? Because again, to
mm,
me, it comes back to a lot of that initial programming, whatever we received, at home. And so, yeah, I mean, to me, it was like the do more, be more, do more, be more. So I got it. You get into it's almost like a trap, right? And so again, I had a lot of this I would say underlying at the time that I didn't realize limiting belief in terms of perfectionism, right?
mm.
And again,
Ooh,
it's again all that messaging is you've got to do X, Y, and Z to be accepted. That the whole
ooh,
belonging,
yeah.
right? Unless you're doing all of what you're supposed to be doing, right? Then you don't really belong. And so I think that there was this whole underlying, again, there was some perfectionism going on there, the whole worth. That's how I was like tied to my self-worth, in terms of these are all the things that I need to do. So it was very difficult to say no, so and it used to, I don't know, but when I was working in corporate, at times it literally would piss me off that I would be like, I am doing like 200%, and yet I would see other people like doing the bare minimum, right? And yet we're all still getting the same raises, because back in those
Mm.
days it was like, oh, we only have a certain pot of money, and so we can't really give Cindy 10% and somebody else 2. You gotta. So I mean, all of that would come, that dynamic would come into play, and I think what you said though earlier is very spot on too. You've got all these other factors coming in, family, maybe you've got kids or you're younger. I mean, all of those things, you're trying to establish yourself in your career
Sure.
early on. So all of those things can kind of like definitely impact that. But for me, again, having done a lot of inner work, it goes back to those underlying things of messages that came through that literally crossed over then into the workplace in terms of worth, self-worth. And so I think it's really, really kind of interesting. But I love what you also said too, is it's the exhaustion because our bodies are talking to us all the time. And they're
All the
telling
time.
us, but we don't, as you said earlier, we override that. We got all these signals that are coming into it, but we override it, right? Nope, nope,
Yeah.
nope, nope. I'm not going to listen to that because again, the whole emotional mental is riding everything, and again those messages are so ingrained in us, aren't they, in terms of like what we need to do to be a success, to belong.
Oh,
I think it's really interesting.
it's you hit on so many important points. One of them being perfectionist, recovered, recovering, recovered, recovered. Um,
Work in
and
progress.
work in progress, whatever that is. Like who says what perfect is? Who
Mm,
says that?
yeah.
Does society say it? Does the woman say it? Who says? And if a woman is overriding her self-worth by saying that she needs to do more because she needs to be seen and she needs to do it perfectly, we need to do some more foundational work
Mm.
around self-worth and defining what success means to you.
Oh
What
my
does that mean to you? Like redefine what that means for you. That
yeah.
doesn't mean you peace out and you don't do anything in a corporate world. That's not what I'm talking about. If you redefine how you succeed at your job and amongst the other responsibilities outside of that, that's where I think the key lies is looking at how to live a more balanced and emotionally productive life,
Oh my
not
gosh,
emotionally draining,
absolutely.
right? You
I
have
couldn't
your
agree more.
emotions are friends. Like your emotions are
Yeah.
friends. Like they tell you They still tell you what it is you want, what is it you need. But if you are overriding and you need to be perfect, I've gone through this. I've
Yep.
gone through this. So if you're listening and you're a work in progress with perfection,
Yeah.
I see you. Like this is the thing. You can redefine what it means to succeed for yourself.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there because I know it took me again, it took me a lot of years. And again, it was,
I know it
doing a
takes
lot of
time.
work in terms of again, just really nurturing myself. I mean, I got to the point, and I did get to a point in corporate where I did say no. I started to learn how to set my boundaries, not only at home, and that's again, I started there. And then it shifted over into the workplace because I remember when my daughter was in high school and she made the field hockey team. And
Mm,
so, and it was a big deal. And she actually made
it is
captain.
a big deal.
It was a
Oh,
big
wow.
deal. And so the games were like late afternoon, but not like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, right? So you're talking these games are like 3, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I set a big boundary with my boss. And I was like, I'll come in earlier. And if I even need to do a finish up later, I said, but I am not going to miss a single one of my daughter's field hockey games. And that
How
was
did that feel?
empowering. Because the thing is, as I said, and my boss came back to me, she says, of course you're not going to miss any of them. You know, but prior to that, I would have been so afraid to ask for that. To set that kind of boundary because I would have been afraid. Again, this is all fear-based stuff. I would have been afraid
Oh,
how that was going to look at me. Oh my God, how is that going to affect my review? Oh my goodness. I mean, everything was locked into the performance, performance, performance. Because when you're in corporate, everything is locked onto performance. And so when you're fed that constantly, day in and day out, and again, me, the whole self-worth, it was like, do more, be more, do more. I mean, my whole definition of success was wrapped around that. And so I had to learn to step back from that and say, you know what? That isn't success. What? Not in life. Work is
oh,
just a piece of my life, but it is not my whole life. And I think that's when I
ooh.
had this big aha of like, no, there is more to life than just being in what I call the hamster wheel, constantly running, constantly
There
running. And whether
is,
that's
yeah,
at home or in the workplace, and I had them both.
yeah.
Spin, 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 spin. And sometimes it can be scary. I'm like, I'm going to launch out. What am I going to do? Am I going to splat against the wall because I'm going so fast, running so fast? So you got to learn first. I mean, I had to learn how to like slow down, right, in that wheel
Mm,
so that I could hop off and not feel like I was literally like crashing into a wall. But
wow.
took time and energy and effort, but it was so worth it.
It
So
does
worth
take
it.
time. Yeah. That's such an important story. And even your body language, you're like empowering, like you feel that you've done something good, not only for yourself to provide some balance and some uh, a thread of existence outside of work, but you're doing something important for your family and your family members. And I think, generally speaking, women would like to do that, whether you have your own children or not. If you can be there for a family member, whoever that may be, that's important, right? Because they are our community. And I think, the idea of saying like it's almost did if you said no, you can say no in different ways.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you did it in your story. You say, I'll come in early, but I won't miss my daughter's field hockey games and I'll work a little later. What you're doing is reclaiming your day.
Mm,
What you're doing is honoring your life as a woman, as an employee, a corporate employee, as a mom, as a daughter, wife, however, whatever roles you play, you're honoring those things throughout the day. And that's a very key thing for a woman to feel. And I think that's very successful. That is successful.
I would agree. And I love what you said too. It's the redefining. It don't have to be a blatant no. Here's another tip. This is
I mean,
something.
those are okay too, but you can
No,
say no in different.
don't get me wrong. You can
No,
try to ask, nope, not today. That and you
no, no.
you got to, so a couple of different things, couple of different stories here. There are sometimes I remember when bosses would come and try to add more and more to the plate, and then when you're full, it's like you are so full. Like there are times when I'm like, okay, the water line's above my nose now, and that's when I would turn to my boss and say, "What's the priority?" You know,
Ooh, I
and I
love
would
that.
say, I got X, Y, and Z on my plate right now. They all cannot be priorities. What's the priority for today?
I
So
love
you can
that.
give yourself some space that way. So that's a really good way of saying, no, not today, right? So I can adjust that. The other thing that I started to do is because I had meeting after meeting after, like back to back meetings, and people would like double book, even though your calendar is supposed to be your friend, they would double book. And so what I started to do too is you're entitled to your lunch, to your breaks. I don't care if you're hourly or, what are the two different definitions of employees now? If you're on the clock, or well, I can't think of the word now. Isn't this awful? Senior moment here. Exempt or non-exempt? Exempt and non-exempt employees, right? There's
You're not a senior. You're 34.
So anyway, whatever your designation is, right? I don't care if you need to like have space for yourself even during the day. So what I started doing is I would block off a lunch. Block it off in your calendar, because it would be a reoccurring every day from like noon to 1 or 1 to 2, whatever it is that I needed.
Great. I
Bam.
love that.
That
I
was my
love that.
time. And I would spend it however I needed to, whether it was maybe I need to take a walk outside. Maybe it was just, I need to go to the bathroom, because how many times are you like, oh my gosh, I can't even like take a pee because I've got meeting after meeting. So it was a way to kind of break up the day, and it was a way of saying no, right? That no, you cannot fill me up every minute of every hour.
Ooh, I
So
love
it's
that.
a really good, for those listening, this is a really great tip for you, is do that. Do that. You are important. Make the appointment with you. If you had a doctor's appointment, you would put it on the calendar and you would go, right?
Right?
Dentist appointment, you would go. Now, I know
Yep.
sometimes we even blow that off. Well, I'll think about that next month or whatever. Well, let's just say, your child, something happens to them. You're going to go, aren't you? I want to say
Yep.
this, you are just as important. You are just as important. So take that time, book on your own calendar, book appointments for yourself, and just see how you feel. Try it out for a week. Just do it even for a week and just see how you feel.
Absolutely. And you brought up the idea of blocking out time, which is so important because when women have time to themselves, you and I both know how much you thrive internally, professionally, and whatnot. And that's a key learning for women. And I remember working with a gal, and it was a contract position many years ago. And we shared a big office. And she had a cot in the office. And I
Yeah.
didn't know whose it was, but on the first day, she came back from whatever she was doing. She came back. She's like, do you mind if I have a nap? And I was like, nope. I'm like, and I'm saying to myself, that's a really great idea to have a nap. She would sleep because she had a young child at home who needed her attention as soon as she got in. The child was maybe one, maximum 1.5. And husband was also tired. So she would have a nap in the afternoon. She says, if I don't have a nap, Roshni, my whole day is fried. I need this half an hour. And I was like, that's great because I love peace during my lunch hours. And I just worked away. I kind of clicked generally on my computer, just tap, 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 very quiet. I didn't talk to her. She fell fast asleep and woke up in half an hour, completely renewed. Completely renewed. I was like, yep, I will never forget that. I'm like, now that's a queen right there. That's all I'm saying. Gonna have
I
a
love it.
nap, and that doesn't mean I'm condoning. You don't fall asleep at your desk. Like that's unprofessional. But if you need to go to your car and sleep for seven, I mean, the golden number I hear is 7 minutes to refresh your mind, body, and spirit. Go and sleep in your car for 7 minutes. I'll probably take 11, but 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 that's really important, right? She's carving out something that works for her. So you're bringing out the idea of take things that work for you, that fuel you, so that you can feel good about where you are and what you're doing on a regular basis. And priorities, man, priorities are the best. You're prioritizing and you're asking, what is the priority? Because not everything requires all of your attention all of the time. That's crazy making. We're not doing that. We are going to prioritize what needs our attention right now. And that's where you reclaim your energy too, right?
I think the big message here is that, we've been so trained, right? Again, I think
Training, yeah.
we really relate to the women here, but so much of us have been trained, right? In terms of productivity is really tied to self-worth. And so I think when we
Mm,
start to really recognize that that's really not true, right?
not
And that,
true.
we don't have to be constantly going, constantly over against the whole over giving, all of that. Even when you're talking about service, yes, we can still be of service, but that doesn't mean that it's at the expense of us. And so I think that's really kind of like the messaging that we have to start pulling in and really recognizing, yeah, we've been trained in a certain way of like how to behave, and really we've been rewarded for overextending ourselves for so long. So I think when we start to take a look
Whoa,
at
that's so
that,
deep.
right, we got to start taking a look at all of that, and we're giving them stories and tips and whatever. But I think the biggest thing that I've heard here today is that, again, stepping into that boundary, setting those boundaries. And I think that when we do that, that's the life sustaining, piece that we need, is we really need to start establishing what our boundaries are. And when we start to do that, we come into more of alignment with who we are and what we really want. The more we do that, the more I'm going to say the word embody that. Really take it, and it takes a practice. Like I say this all the time, the P's, right? It's a process. It takes practice. We need to be persistent and patient with ourselves, but keep going at that. Start to establish little boundaries for yourself. That simple putting on the calendar,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
so simple.
pen it in, not pencil it in, pen it in. As you said, take 7 minutes. Even if it's not to fall asleep, just maybe go in your car, breathe. Just stop,
Ooh,
get a change of scenery,
simple,
get away from your
simple.
desk, stand up, get away from your desk.
Get
Just
away from the desk.
you got to
Yes.
clear your head. It gives you just that space enough to get a little bit more clear of what needs to happen next. And then the more we create that space, I think, the more then we are aligned for the yeses to ourselves, if that makes sense.
Yes. Well said. Beautiful. And that expansion is what every soul requires, male or female, but
Yep.
our work is with women.
Yep.
That's what the soul requires. Spend time with me, Cindy. Spend time with me, Roshni. Give me the space so I can speak to you. Give
Yep.
me the rest, give your body the rest it needs so that I can realign you gently and lovingly as to your next step. And I think many women know this, uh, and bringing that more of those simple steps to help you expand, 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 like a little little baby vice, that it's
Yeah.
expansion. Sometimes it's not perfect, but little steps that kind of help open up a portal of self-care. And you and I have done many, many conversations about self-care and self-love. It always boils down to that.
Yes, it does. And again, I love everything that you're saying. I think these little baby steps, because again, we don't have to earn rest. We don't have
Yeah,
to earn
we
it.
never have to
We
do that.
and we don't have to do it through exhaustion because as you said even
No.
earlier, it's like you get to the point of burnout. So these are ways too to prevent even the burnout, right? It's because we don't have to earn it through exhaustion. We don't have to run ourselves ragged to the point of exhaustion and say, okay, now I can rest because I'm so exhausted. I mean,
Mm,
your tank is so dry and empty at that point. It takes a
mm.
lot more replenishment, where if you start to do these little baby steps along the way, you're starting to feed yourself more and more, and you actually have more energy to do more things. And I'm not saying do more, be more right now. This is a difference.
This
I'm
is
just
a
saying you,
difference. Yeah.
you need, this is so that you're doing more for yourself. You're more in alignment and embodying what's best for you. So, yeah,
Well said. Well said, my friend. I always enjoy our conversations. This one was
me
very,
too.
very, very, very practical and peaceful. And I hope that our listeners take away something, one thing, five things, whatever, and they take that back and bring it back home to themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think so we should just close here. I think we've said everything we need to say. Is there more to say, Rashni?
I just think you're awesome. I
I think
really
you're
do.
awesome too. Our mutual
I
awesome
love our
flame.
energy. I'm just gonna edify you right now. I love speaking with you. I love creating the energy that we have because you know what? That shows that we are expanding each other. And
Yeah.
I'm truly appreciative of that. So thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you as well. I really appreciate that. And so then just for all of our viewers out there, a little plug here. If the conversation really resonated with you, you're really ready to recognize that you want to take some more steps, you can always reach out to either one of us. We're
Sure.
happy to assist you. And if you want to even go deeper, um, we've got a book out. I'm going to plug our book. That's
Yes.
a little plug here. You can
Plug that book.
plug the book. It's
Of course.
Embrace and Empower, a Pathway to Self-Love. And we give you simple beautiful pictures with a simple word to kind of like cogitate on and a little maybe an action step to take forward. We also have a workbook with some reflective questions, so it all ties in together of the how you can start to take these baby steps for yourself. And
Sure.
so I think with that, you know uh we'll see on our next episode. We'll continue having these conversations with you, and just
Yes.
that your power was never really lost, and you're not broken. You are not
No.
broken. You're simply becoming.
Absolutely. Well said. So thanks again, and thanks to all of our subscribers. Our subscribers are growing. So if all of our work here resonates with you, or this episode resonates with you, share it with a friend, a girlfriend, someone who might be struggling in the workplace, and perhaps we can help bring some self-love to them too.
Absolutely. All right,
Thank you,
y'all. Have a
Cindy.
blessed one.
Bye now.